have a 9-year-old son who has Dravet syndrome and other medical conditions. I would feel really lucky if I could sleep in on a weekend and not have to wake up every 3 hours to check on my son.
I have 2 children. My oldest daughter is 17 and she has a condition called central congenital hypoventilation syndrome. And I would feel lucky if I could sleep through the night without having to get up for her alarms and just to not worry about her while she sleeps.
I guess you could say we live outside of normal.
We visit normal briefly, but it's not someplace we get to stay because our lives are different.
Most people get the idea of having a baby and not sleeping throughout the night and how exhausting that can be. But then imagine it going on throughout the teenage years. So that level of exhaustion is really hard to comprehend, but we keep going because we have no other choice. Sometimes we take it day by day, other times it's minute by minute, or it can even be hour by hour. We just have to do it.
And all the while, we try to keep things as normal as possible for the family and for our friends and everyone else. And we carry this weight and we try to hide it so that everyone thinks we're okay. And most of the times, we're not okay. And also, you can add to the stress of a new diagnosis or no diagnosis at all. And families and friends and strangers trying to give you unsolicited advice and opinions of what can fix our children or how we can make things better. It's a lot.
So normal just slips further and further away.
This video is going to give you an idea of the weight that we carry with us all of the time. Actually, I've been up since 2 this morning. I woke up to the sound of my daughter's oximeter alarming and her ventilator alarming. As a parent of a medically fragile child, we are almost governed by alarms. There's always something that needs to be taken care of with our children. And even in sleep, our bodies don't get a chance to rest. I've learned to do what I call a surface sleep, which means I sleep with one ear open, because if my daughter needs me, I have to be in her room and I have to be in fast. And there's so many things to do at night. We have meds to administer. There's equipment that we have to take care of. We have to rotate our children when they're sleeping. We have to feed our children. As parents, we are on 24/7. We don't get a break. We don't get to go to bed and dream. Her oximeter was alarming and her ventilator was alarming, and so I have to run. I ran into her room and the ventilator had popped off her tracheostomy. And her oximeter numbers, that's her O2 numbers, were showing 84. And we like numbers of 95 to 100. So I popped her vent back on her trach and waited a few minutes till her numbers got up and her lips started to turn pink again. And I went back to bed. And 20 minutes later, she started to alarm again. And again, I run, and I run fast, because I never know what I'm going to come into when I go into her room. Will I have to resuscitate her? Will I have to, call 911? I just don't know. But this time, thankfully, the oximeter had fallen off of her toe, the little sensor. So I popped it back on and I went back to bed. But going back to bed doesn't mean I get to go to sleep, because my adrenaline is running, my heart is pumping, and my mind starts to overthink. And 6 o'clock is going to come really, really soon. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, I've got to get both kids up. I've got to get a tube feed started. I have to get our Abby's equipment packed for the day, and we've got to get out the door. So I drop one daughter off at daycare because I don't want to bring her to the appointment today, because it's a really important appointment and I want to focus all of my energy on Abby and the doctor and listening. So I take my daughter to daycare, and I'm really hoping the appointment is short, so I'll only have to pay for half of the day for daycare. I used to have a career, but with my daughter's complex medical needs, I'm just not able to work outside of the home anymore. And it's tough to afford extra daycare when I am a stay-at-home mom. So I'm hoping it's a short appointment today. I merge onto the Queensway, and my daughter's in the back seat. She's reading a book. She's happy. And I'm driving, but I'm replaying, or I'm thinking about the appointment in my head. I'm going over the questions I need to ask. Is this the time where we find out she'll be having her 8th surgery, and the stress of that and the weight of that worry? And in that 3 seconds that I forget to check on her, I check my surroundings as often as I check my daughter. I'm checking for cars, but I'm also looking in the rearview mirror to check on my daughter. And in those 3 seconds that I was thinking about the appointment, I forgot to check on her. And I look up and she's blue. I quickly put my 4-ways on and I pull over to the side of the Queensway. And I grab her suction machine and I suction her tracheostomy and I clear her airway. And her lips were blue, her face was blue. And I suction her and her color starts to come back. And I'm just like, I can't let my mind wander. We don't get the option to daydream. We always have to be on, because bad things happen to our children if we're not on, if our minds wander, and we just can't let that happen. So I'm stressed and I'm frazzled, but we still need to get to this appointment. So I merge back onto the highway. We get to the parking lot and the lineup is huge. It's going to be at least 10 minutes before we can even get to a parking spot. So I know we're going to be late for this appointment. So we finally get in, I get her a spot, I get her wheelchair and I get her machine, I get her all packed up, and I just give her a big hug and I hold her so tightly because I'm so thankful that she's okay. And you know, I've saved her life twice today. And the day's really, it's not even noon yet. And just the weight of the morning and the stress of trying to get here and knowing what's potentially coming at this appointment it's tough. So we get into the building and are going down the hall, and all the while hoping that today is the day for her appointment. I had forgot to call just to double check, and I can't remember if they called me. Last month I showed up 2 weeks early for an appointment, so I'm hoping that it's today. I try not to show that I'm a mess and that I have it together, because I need to have it together, but a lot of the times I just don't have it together. And I go up to the clerk and the appointment is today, but we are late. So I take a breath and I say, can you still see us today? Can we still get seen? And she said yes, but it may take a while, which we don't mind. We'd rather wait than have to come back and not being able to do this appointment. So we go and we wait in the hallway because we don't want to sit in the waiting room with all of the germs and bugs. So we sit in the hallway and we wait until they call us. So we get in and the nurse asks me for the paperwork that I was supposed to bring. The paperwork that's sitting at home on my kitchen counter because I forgot it. In all the confusion and the rush of the morning, it was one thing that I forgot. And now I'm going to have to make a time to come back to drop those papers off because they're a crucial part of my daughter's care. She gets right to the point. We need to schedule her 8th surgery, and that's coming up within the next 2 months. So my mind is racing. I'm trying to take notes. I'm trying to listen to what she says. And my daughter needs to be suctioned, so I have to suction her. And before I know it, the appointment's over. And I've left with so many questions. I have so much research to do. My mind is racing, trying to comprehend what this means for my daughter, what it means for my family. I have research to do, I have prescriptions to fill, I have supper to make, and I'm met with flashbacks from previous surgeries and PTSD that goes along with that. And I still need to get home. I load my daughter up in the car, I get a tube feed started. The battery on her suction machine is at 25%, so I'm hoping that we can make it home before the battery dies. My mind is just a whirl of all that went on and what I need to do. And you know, most days I can't even think about what my own needs are because there's no time. As you've seen, just what I've told you, there's no time to think about what my needs are. I don't even know really what those are anymore because my needs are what my daughter needs. No one really gets it. Unless you live this life, you won't get it. My friendships are strained because I'm always canceling plans at the last minute. But it takes so much effort and coordination to find respite for my daughter, and it's costly. It costs a lot of money. Oh, excuse me. Okay, right, where were we? Respite. So respite is a great idea in theory, but it's costly, it's time consuming, and it's hard to find people that we trust to take care of our children. So often that leads us to live in isolation. It's not somewhere where we wanted to end up, but it's almost easier and safer if we do that. After dedicating 100% to our children and our families for so long, we take a breath and we look up and we see that our family and our friends have moved on with their own children and their own lives. And sometimes the staff at the doctors and the hospitals are the only people that we get to see outside of our own family. So then there's the bills that we have to pay. There's funding we have to apply for. There's malfunctioning medical equipment. There's more doctor's appointments that we need to make. There's prescriptions to pick up. And then there's just all the typical things that we have to do too. Cutting the grass, making supper, doing homework, walking the dog. You okay?
Actually, no. Sorry, Teresa. I just can't do it. I always think I can, but I can't. We are our children's advocates, dear nurses, dear therapists, PSWs, and their moms. We are their researchers and their schedulers. But we are also their biggest cheerleaders. So our voices speak for them, and we keep speaking until someone hears us. We know that not everyone has the power to help with the red bricks. Those are the ones that we must always carry with us. But many are able to help with the smaller bricks. Here are some suggestions. Staff, any staff, taking a moment to introduce themselves to myself and my child makes us feel welcome. Staff reading my child's chart before an appointment means I don't have to tell our story over and over again. After a stressful morning or afternoon, having the clerk smile at me and tell me to take my time really makes me feel at ease. It doesn't take a lot to make a difference. The little things are truly appreciated, and they do lighten our load just a bit. Can you make a difference today?